Hello, beautiful human. I am Zach. That is Ann. And today we welcome to the studio an actor that I am sure you are aware of. You've grown up with this human being. You know them from roles in Cheaper by the Dozen, Step Up, Camp Rock, and so many others. But they're also a podcaster, an activist, and now an author here to discuss their memoir. You wrote a memoir, semi-well-adjusted, despite literally everything. Say hello to Alyson Stoner.
Yay!
Hello, 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 hello. Hi, beautiful human.
Can you just... What is your relationship with a camera? Like, what is it like? Do you have a relationship with a camera?
We go way back. In
Yeah,
fact.
but I mean, how do you see it today?
Well, my mind and body have been conditioned to relate to the camera in a variety of ways. One, if this is an interview setting, then I have a bit of an inner publicist that indicates where my eye line is and what topics to prepare for. And then as a performer, you're supposed to actually kind of forget the camera. You're supposed to be so immersed in the experience that, you know, it's not even in your eye line, even when someone's truly, I mean, I've had some scenes where they were like right in your face and you're supposed to somehow not look into the lens. But yeah, these days, when I'm not speaking about the book or in advocacy positions, I am mostly hiding in a cave away from cameras.
When did you first meet your inner publicist? Because we get to know your inner publicist throughout the book.
A lot.
Yes.
You reference this character, and you know it's so funny. Allie in the other room kind of like described it as this Lizzie McGuire type cartoon character that would sit on your shoulder.
Sure. Yes. I would say there's a whole caucus. We have the inner publicist, but we also have these other kind of sub-personalities. It's loosely pulling from a therapeutic framework called internal family systems. Have you heard of that before?
A little bit.
Okay. And by no means do I endorse this as the only framework to use, but it can be helpful for you to understand where all of these different internal thought processes have come from over the course of your life. You know, we establish these beliefs, these habits, tendencies, and oftentimes it's in response to some experience.
Totally.
And you're trying to figure out whatever strategy to survive it or overcome it, etc. And so inner publicist very much came online, I think around the time I was doing the Cheaper by the Dozen 1 press junket, and I had no formal media training, but I sat down and had reporters from all around the world asking me questions that were really, now I understand, to be quite invasive. Things about like being, you know, a pubescent young person and menstrual cycles and things that at the time I was just like, wanting to make sure I had the right answer as opposed to recognizing, oh, wait, I could say no here. But I was a kid. So the inner publicist was like kind of a protective mechanism, maybe mixed with a little anxiety, perfectionism.
But does it come from like saying the wrong thing? Like, how do you even understand what you're being asked in that moment?
Well, I think it's oftentimes the feedback that occurs after something is published. So I was 8 or 9 years old after I did the Missy video and some other projects, and I already was accustomed to strangers commenting on every aspect of not only my appearance, but also how I comport myself. You know, they were nitpicking the word choices and sometimes fact-checking me. And I was still just getting my first map of the world, you know, so I realized quickly, oh, you have to be really conscientious. And, you know, editors also favor sound bites. So you learn to speak concisely and, you know, with precision, period. End of statement.
You bring up map of the world, but a map of the world shaped so deeply by everybody else. Like one of the things that I kept thinking about is like, you genuinely were the archetype of a tomboy. Whether, I mean, for my generation, like you were one of the few archetypes that would like allow my peers to understand what that means and what that was. And like, yes, you would see it in your own life, but you were personified in media.
Fascinating.
Is that weird to receive?
Well, it's more so that I didn't know that that's what was happening. When people joke that I was their queer awakening in some respect. I myself missed the memo until decades later, but also I was just hired to play a role. And sure, I'm sure I brought my own kind of like Midwestern, dirt under my fingernails, ready to hang with the boys attitude.
And you played some sports, right? But nothing crazy.
Oh, I play all the sports. Actually, our family is a sports family. So basketball, soccer, swimming, tennis, even golf, water ballet.
What?
I was the shortest on the team, and I couldn't touch the ground, so I had to tread water the entire practice. Wow. I didn't want to do that any longer.
I mean, how deeply competitive of a person do you have to be to do all those sports?
I think it was maybe more so that we were in a position where we were able to try out different hobbies for a season at a time or a few years at a time. And I imagine my parents were just trying to invest in supporting their kids' natural interests. And if they had a knack for something, okay, cool, let's try a year in this league. And so that obviously is a privilege to be able to engage in that way and to have a parent be able to take you to practice and stuff like that. But yeah, I do remember reaching a certain point where they were like, you got to pick a few. You can't do all of these things to an extreme level. But then you get to Hollywood and they say, actually, we would like for you to do all of these things.
You're going to list everything on your resume. Because when they see water ballerina,
right?
Yo, you're getting in the room.
That's right. The special skills list. Did you see that section? Has anyone ever talked about that on here? It's wild. When I tell you, people are like, oh, you can play the maracas? Okay, we're going to submit you for this character.
Do you know what sits on your current special skills list?
Oh, thankfully, I do not use an entertainment-based resume anymore. I'm a founder of a mental health company. I'm listing mental health certifications these days.
Oh, so water ballerina doesn't make the list.
It's unfortunately less applicable to my current work. But I'm sure there's some kind of therapeutic, somatic, movement-based technique we could explore if you'd like to hop in the water after. I don't know what you're doing this afternoon.
I have nothing going on, but I'm just suddenly really busy. It's so crazy.
Right.
So when does dance get introduced into the flurry of other extracurriculars?
First.
Really?
Dance is first love. And also probably a convenient way to drop 2 out of the 3 kids off at the same location at the same time. I started dancing in Toledo, and then I was already competing around 6 years old and went to a convention in New York. Thought it was similar to dance conventions, kind of a one-and-done thing, but that ended up being an entertainment recruitment funnel.
So this was the talent showcase that you just end up in, because we've obviously read the book and we've listened to the book, but that's this talent showcase that you end up in.
Indeed.
And what did you think it was?
A fun chance to spend time with my mom in New York City and to go see The Lion King on Broadway, and to do a couple of different performances. I think at that age, you haven't developed your own sense of identity yet. And so it's largely subsumed in an extension of your caregivers or the folks and whatever's modeled around you. And then you're also trying to get your basic survival needs met. So many of us, some of us more than others, just want to be the good kid who does the right thing all the time. And so I think I was just trying to, respond to the feedback and the encouragement. Hey, you're doing well here. Do more of this in this way. And that kind of compliance and work ethic was rewarded by what I call the beginning of the toddler to train wreck pipeline, this kind of assembly line, this conveyor belt that a lot of young kids find themselves on and maybe don't fully comprehend.
You end up on this conveyor belt or even heading towards the conveyor belt because it's positive reinforcement and something that you love to do. In retrospect, what do you think your mom's mindset or perspective was then?
Of course, I can't speak for her. I do think this is an area where a lot of parents have such promising intentions, but so little information about what commercializing your child's interests is and how that differs from community theater or making YouTube videos with friends that you post privately within your network. And I actually see this playing out now at a larger scale because increasingly interconnected digital world, we now have kids who are being filmed, posted online, monetized sometimes, and we don't recognize that these kinds of issues with like parasocial relationships with a fan, mental health challenges from the 80-hour work weeks that go into this behind the scenes, issues with privacy and safety, like the fact that I was dealing with stalkers and kidnapping plots while only smiling on camera and trying to pretend everything was perfectly fine. That adds up and takes a toll. And now anyone with a Wi-Fi connection or a smart device can be navigating these kinds of experiences. So the book, yes, it like delves into the juicy, incredibly vulnerable details of my past and what happened on all the sets growing up. But it's also hopefully surfacing some timely conversations for what it means to navigate the world in 2025, particularly the digital landscape.
I mean, this is a real book. This is not like it's thick. Like, this is the real deal. You should be very proud of this.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's hard to put, like, can you wrap your mind fully around the fact that you wrote this?
I know there are going to be consequences, and I don't know what those will be yet for this level of honesty and disclosure. To string together 90,000 words and to try and find some coherent through line that summarizes what your life is, who you are, what lessons you want to convey. It's an undertaking like no other. I will say that. But I started researching 7 years ago and assembling outlines for years, and I actually put this project on the shelf. Said, I'm ready to just move on with my life. I'm shifting gears. I'm a mental health practitioner now. I don't need to have my story heard for it to feel validated. I can do that in therapy. I can do that in community. But it was when I started to see so many of my peers, as well as current and future generations coming up and showing the same signs of challenge that I was like, y'all, we have to unpack this. We cannot have another memoir or documentary that's just sensationalizing our story and literally turning it into entertainment.
Totally.
Temporary entertainment.
Terrible cycle.
Yes. Without action, this memoir is just another, it's adding to the fodder. So, within the pages, as you get to the end, hopefully you make it to the end, you start to see, we can do something about this. And it's not just to benefit the well-being of young performers. It's also like, let's take a look at this whole ecosystem culturally. Like, how does this affect audiences at home? How are we all swimming in this ocean? We don't need to be doing things. We know better, so let's do better.
Why do you think audiences are so fascinated with the downside and the negative dark sides that stem from everything that we've grown up to love?
Well, to start with, I think we have been trained as consumers to follow whatever news cycle is presented to us. And it does play to certain kinds of emotions where you're able to project maybe some of your own dissatisfaction in life or fears or what some might call negative emotions onto someone else and live vicariously through their story without having to necessarily, confront it within yourself in the same way. I think there's also this really interesting thing. I think a lot about this concept called the illusion of separation. Sorry, how philosophical do we want to get here today?
Let's get there.
And when I fundamentally see myself, you and me as separate beings, I can do two things very quickly thereafter. I can either pedestalize you or I can dehumanize you. And because there's a disconnection, I don't feel like I'm doing that to myself. But if I understand that you and I are actually fundamentally tethered together, that my life is interconnected with yours directly and indirectly, then I must see you in equal worth and value, humanity, etc. And so I think, media becomes this really nice, it creates a literal film between us where you can kind of like turn someone on the other side of the screen into whatever you need them to be, for better and worse.
It's so real. And I got to say, I have very close friends who are also in the public eye, and they have said, like in layman's terms, like people who are behind that film are not given the same grace as one would give their friend or give their neighbor or give just a normal human being walking down the fucking street or even on a subway.
Sure. But I understand because we have been trained to only see the facade of fame. So if you're only seeing someone whose life is dripping in luxury, the perception of luxury, pleasure, access, resource, which, gosh, for majority of the people is just really not the case. For some, maybe. But if that's all you see, it would be pretty hard to empathize if someone comes forward and says, hey, my life is hard too. We're kind of like, really? But you can pay for your life to get better. But you have a team who can make your life better. It feels so far removed. So I kind of see that as a part of the expertly constructed dynamic that all of us, through my book, get a chance to pierce through and say like, whoa, I don't want to be duped anymore. You don't deserve to be duped anymore. Let's shift this. Like, we don't have to do media the way we've been doing it.
I agree.
Yeah, and I want to know more about that with you.
We should talk about it.
Yeah.
By the way, you can listen to the book. It's on Audible, by the way. You can also grab it for your Kindle. We'll put a link below.
Yeah.
Also, it's on my read list. So Amazon.com/zachsang show. You can go there too.
I did have a question off what you were saying. If the story of the childhood star downfall is so well known, why do you think it keeps happening?
Well, a few things. Curiously, when we're, trying to get a job and we're meeting with employers and they hire us, typically you get some kind of onboarding manual, right? Like some sort of orientation. But in the industry, there is literally, now I've designed it, but there has been no manual for what the job entails, how to prepare for it, the skills that you're going to need, and what the expectations are, the consequences, etc.
And by the way, like you literally, as a kid, your first day is showing up to a table read, right? Your first day is a table read or maybe a table read. You're with a bunch of peers reading a script for the very first time. You're just thrown into the middle of it.
Yes, and there are so many things that come with that, like fittings where adults are suddenly touching your body and you're just like, I guess I'm an open target. Like, ask me whatever you need. Yes. And then you have a team who's commissioning every check you're making. So now you're thinking about like, even if your parents are not pressuring you at all, you're still absorbing implicit messages that like, there are a lot of sacrifices being made. You better show the up. And if you stop working or you stop booking, you'll just be dropped by the team. So there are so many different things. And then you're pulled out of school and the only other peers you know are fellow child performers who, God bless us all, are not, we're a certain flavor of human because of the conditioning. So yeah, circling back to the onboarding manual, that's why I designed Artist Wellbeing Essentials. It's a toolkit specifically for young performers and not just in the industry. We're talking like if you're just locally wanting to explore the performance space, acting, singing, dancing, musicianship, like you still have to understand the psychological, emotional, and physical unique experiences of what that involves. So we need onboarding manuals. Otherwise, this stuff keeps happening. Also, industry protocols. Come on. We talk about child labor laws. Oh, see, you get me started, and now I'm like, it's all of the things. I find it so fascinating that the term child stardom, cleverly, conveniently, is used in replacement of child laborer, and federal laws do not cover child entertainers in child labor laws. We culturally actually look at this kind of job, even if it's the same number of hours, as something that does not get named or noticed in a way that, leads to the same kind of protections.
It's weird. It's like, as a society, it's like there's two things that we group in that same category. It's entertainment and farm work. Like two things that society deems vital to our existence is Shirley Temple and an 8-year-old picking, produce on a farm.
Well, and this gets into some of the policy work that I'm working on, where it has to do with how we view childhood, how we view children's rights, how we view family business, and wanting to be able to give families the freedom to say, hey, we want to run our household the way we want. But here's the deal. If you come from a house, I'll use my own as an example, where addiction and abuse are prevalent, and now let's say you're in social media era where a parent or guardian is saying, let me run my house the way I want to, but it means exploiting your children, we're going to need a different model of how we view family business and children's rights in order to actually make effective policy. So, sorry, I'm just going to keep going on this thing, because we have to tackle every part of the ecosystem, right? And every level, micro, meso, macro. So we've got the individual and supporting families with resources. We have fundamentally shifting policy and industry protocol. And then we've got the cultural myths that we are all, it's the Kool-Aid that we come into the world drinking without knowing. Things like fame. I mean, what a bizarre expression of the illusion of separation. I remember I was maybe 15, maybe it was with the Jonas Brothers, and their dad, who is their manager, or was their manager at the time at least, was talking about okay, we're going on tour, and you need to get fans hype by starting a Twitter account, and you got to build followers. Everything in my body was like, wait, why am I calling another human being a fan why am I trying to just get people to pay money to come see me? Wait, why can't we just have a community dinner where we all share our skills and it's like show and tell? I started to feel the capitalism of it all, the fame of it all, and I was like, this feels strangely off. Even though, of course, you want to support art, but when it gets commercialized, these cultural myths, they're deep in it.
So perception versus reality, right? We grow up, we think everything's hunky-dory with the people we see on the big screen. We think they're rich, right? That is a huge thing. I watch Cheaper by the Dozen, and I think two things. Oh, man, I wish I had a family like that. And two, I wonder how much they're making. I wonder if they're rich.
Do you know I filmed that on this lot?
No way.
20 years ago.
Wait, that's crazy.
Welcome back to the scene of the crime.
Yeah. How'd you feel coming back on the lot?
It's actually really sentimental, because I saw, the street that we were turning on, and something in my brain was like, ding, familiar. And it was a joyful experience. So I have a lot of fond memories, but please continue.
Can I ask, how much were you making per picture back then?
Oh, I wish I knew.
So you really don't?
I don't know.
Does that piss you off a little bit?
I don't know if I feel pissed off. I usually feel grief, because it's such a complicated set of memories, where on the one hand, you're grateful that someone was saying, just focus on the fun. Don't worry about the money. This isn't about the money. And on the other hand, realizing because you were focused on the fun, there was a whole team of people involved who could mismanage your funds and who weren't helping prepare me holistically as a human. I mean, I tried to take financial literacy courses. I tried to be as responsible and frugal as possible, but it didn't, unfortunately, prevent. Yeah.
If you're not working with anything, like you could take all the financial literacy courses in the world, like zero is zero.
Yeah.
Not a lot of money is not a lot of money.
Well, I don't think a lot of people understand how much work we do for free.
Totally.
Like
a lot of the marketing, the promotion attached to it. I mean, there's a lot, even here to promote this book, you're doing it for free.
Speak it. I'm actually losing money being here.
Yeah.
Because I'm paying
not
team.
Me, but you pay the publicist.
You, yes.
Yeah.
But I imagine that everyone here in this room is getting paid besides me.
Yeah, I mean, fair.
Yeah.
100%.
And I'm doing over 300 individual pieces of content in support of this book. And they are unpaid. In fact, I'm losing money.
Yeah, you're putting your own money into it.
Right. But I believe in this book, and that's why I decided to go forward with it. But after this, from a business standpoint, 0 out of 10, do not recommend pursuing the industry for that purpose.
Can you talk about, you've mentioned in the book, like for every dollar an actor is paid, how much do they actually make?
So it depends on your team structure and commission structure, et cetera. At face value, in my experience, I had about 35% of each check going to different team members. And then some was set aside in a Coogan account.
10%.
10%. But
nothing.
It's nothing. And also, you can find clever ways for people to be on your payroll or whatever, where others still end up ultimately getting access to it.
Your mom did that, right? She was paying herself a salary.
Which is not uncommon.
Totally.
And at the time, from my vantage point, it made sense. Also, parents are sacrificing a tremendous amount. So it's complicated. It's complicated. But I had, 35% going out, let's say 25 to 35% going to taxes, and then these astronomical business expenses that are mandatory. It's not something I would ever want to choose, but a publicist could be up to $15,000 a month. And styling, while I would rather wear sweatpants every single day of my life, it doesn't suit the context of being in front of cameras at quote unquote high profile events. And so a stylist can be another 10 grand per month. I mean, and that's on sometimes the conservative side for some of the quotes that I hear. And then you've got your training, and then you've got all of these miscellaneous expenses. So many artists are losing money as they climb the ladder in hopes that the next large job is going to, replenish their resources. But I can't tell you how many times people are just breaking even. And that's where I think societally we have, this is a little conspiracy theory, but it's definitely an opinion. I think we have convinced ourselves that attention is the same currency as money.
So real.
And the amount that you can get people to do for exposure is baffling to me now. But I had no idea. So I just said yes to everything growing up. Now I'm like, zachsang? Yes. Everyone else? Nah, maybe not.
Thank you so much. What is your relationship, though, with the industry? Like, do you care to have a relationship with it?
As a performer, I'm less interested in doing that dance, literally. But I now, thank you, I'm now a mental health coordinator. So
On set.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Like,
it is.
Recently in the last few months, like a portion of my days have been talking about why there should be former child stars working on sets that involve children, and why there should be shows driven by talent that are success stories of the network. And like literally, they're the ones who should be breeding this environment. They know it firsthand. They lived it. They understand it. Like,
I'm here.
That's awesome.
The new era has begun. So as a mental health coordinator, I can support film, TV, stage productions, and audiences by helping bring these stories to life in a compelling way artistically, but also an ethical way. And so there's a range of services. Some of them are like assessing a script to make sure that the depiction of a challenging theme or a mental illness is done accurately, that we're not further stigmatizing a certain community. On set, of course, we can establish different protocols that just create a more collaborative and a safer work environment. It doesn't even have to be an intense the material doesn't have to be intense. Sometimes it's just the work culture where people need to know, hey, like, if you need a moment to be human, we can still get the job done. I promise the studio we will still get the job done. And then also thinking about the editors. Like, I think about people who sit in dark editing bays. I mean, I've been there and done that myself, where you're looking at, let's say you're editing a horror movie, and you have to choose between one graphic image and another graphic image, and you might be experiencing your own kind of trauma and or just overwhelm from the graphic visuals and sounds. And so how can we support editors? And then you think about the audience and you're like, wait a second, we just lived this on set and we felt the impact. Now we want people at home to consume it without any warning. Is it going to lead to further desensitization? Is it going to trigger someone? How can we think about how we're telling these stories in a way where they can still be truly entertaining, but also just like considerate of human nature? So hire me.
What an amazing job that touches literally every aspect of how something is created.
Yeah, and media, the influence of media, you obviously know, on society is just so massive. So
Wait, you go. You're going to ask about Hannah?
Well, no, I was going to ask about the Camp Rock situation where, like, that wasn't even a pilot. Like, you were in that room helping kind of create that entire show.
Or so I thought, at least.
They kind of ripped it right away from you.
By the way, they were supposed to star in a movie, not a show.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the film. And I remember being at that meeting with the producer, so dazzled by this opportunity. And you know, I had already done several shows for the network, so I had seen how they strategically placed people and kind of set them up to become a lead of a sort.
And you were.
Later, I learned that many of us were going through that experience, you know, doing a pilot and many things not working out. But at the time, you know, with tunnel vision, you're like, okay, I've done Mike's short show. I think maybe I'm on Phineas and Ferb by that point. I'm done Sweet Life. That's a Raven, da-da-da. And you feel primed for it, especially because High School Musical was such a hit. And they were like, we need triple threats. I was like, yo, I actually dance. Respectfully, some people don't always actually dance. Like, I can do this. And in that meeting, hearing all the ideas and being like, yes, then this could happen. And, you know, I have this idea, and then having it come back to you as an untitled project with a different team, and wondering, you know, still having that ounce of hope, right? Like, am I still a part of it? Are they sending it to me because is this it? And then to say like, oh no, you're just going to audition for this seemingly new project out of nowhere. And then to get to the audition and to be like, by the way, we know we've been talking to you about playing the lead, but we would love for you to be second fiddle yet again. And you're just like a young kid going, okay, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. I understand. I support you. Happy to be here. This is still like an amazing opportunity. But yeah, oh man, I talked with Jen Stone and some other folks who played like best friend characters growing up. And I think we each have to go through our own process of realizing it's okay to take up space at some point in your life, because we were so used to just being like, okay, how do we make the lead more prominent? How do we serve the purposes of getting the lead storyline to go forward? And you sort of like kind of fade into the background a bit, or it feels that way. So yeah, that was when I became a founder of a company. I had to confront that part of me that was like, oh, surely someone else is going to be CEO. I'll be the right-hand person. And then eventually it was like, oh no, I have to run this thing. Therefore, I am CEO. And I'll say I make a pretty damn good CEO.
That's right. What was it like working with Demi back then?
I'm trying to think of like if I have legitimate memories at this point or if they're all just stories. I do remember there's one really pleasant memory. We were in the transpo van coming from base camp to set. And at the time, Demi loved recreating Christina Aguilera's riffs. And obviously she has an incredible voice. And eventually she taught all of us part of the riff on, I think it's Ain't No Other Man. And so in that moment, it was just a 20-second little moment, we were all practicing this Christina Aguilera riff in the van together before going out and filming. And those moments feel so innocent and pure and light. And I know now that so many of us were actually having a lot of different experiences, some light, some heavy on that set. But yeah, working with Demi was tender, very tender on the first one. And then the second one, our lives had changed so much that it felt more dense. It became, the air was thicker for all of us. We were carrying different responsibilities, and Demi and the boys also had this weight of stardom and different kinds of pressures. And so, yeah, some of that lightness, I think, was lost by the second.
Was any of that a cautionary tale?
In what way?
I mean, watching, understanding, learning, realizing that you have to pick up things just from watching people, even from one end to.
Do you mean, was I recognizing, maybe I need to pump the brakes, something's going awry?
I mean, that or this idea that there's an exposure to, there's dark and then there's dark, right? Because correct me if I'm wrong, on Camp Rock 2, there was a shadow of addiction that was kind of woven throughout.
And I talk about it in the book, and I only mention what other people have come forward and said about their own experiences. That felt really important, that I wasn't disclosing someone else's business without their consent, just adding the impact that it had on me. And yes, I mean, I'll speak for myself. My form of addiction was with food and fitness. And I know that there are differences in substance use, abuse, misuse. But there can still be components of leaning on behaviors, following urges, experiencing withdrawal symptoms related to food and fitness. And I wish I knew that it was okay to ask for help, but it's hard to heal when you're going 150 miles per hour. So we weren't really in an environment that provided any kind of consistency, stability, trustworthy adult connections where we could pause and check in. Well, but also many productions, they're adult workspaces designed with adult expectations. So they're not thinking about creating a safe environment for minors that's holistically supporting our development. And I'm not sure that I need to apply that responsibility to a studio per se. But yes, now that we know more about child development, absolutely, I think we can make some adjustments. But at the time, you're just trying to keep up with the next thing on your schedule. And many of us were, between different jobs, rehearsals, training, this, that, and the other, free gigs, press junkets. We were working 7 days a week. Just that was our norm. And because you're in the position that is coveted societally, it feels more like, oh, this is just, this is still a privilege to have this burden. Therefore, I need to meet the moment. I can't complain. I'm in the position that is in many ways what someone might aspire to reach 20 years from now in their career.
Every kid watching really dreamed about being there.
Well, and it brings us back to the Facades, right? Because it was a myth that we were both affected by, just very differently. When you look at there's this Center for Scholars and Storytellers, Dr. Yalda Oels was a media executive at MGM, went back, got her PhD in child development, and then developed this center where it examines the impact of media and storytelling on young audiences. And you see their research that shows when, being famous or being a pop star or a celebrity was the main character's main motivation, there's a spike in young people similarly desiring the same outcome. When they shifted the focus to be more on friendship and other themes, naturally, kids were focused on other areas of their lives. So that level of impressionability is we can't overlook that. And growing up, it was like Hanna Montana and however many other things. It was everyone wanted to be famous. Even Lizzie McGuire's big moment was on a stage in front of a bunch of people,
Real.
And I was like, yeah, I think that's right. I want that too, I think, right? We should want that. And the adrenaline rush of being on a stage, of course, it's incomparable for sure. But it's not the only way to live a meaningful life. And it's not the only thing we need in our communities to do the work of looking out for each other.
Looking back, do you have any regrets over your career and the decisions that were made? And there's one in the book that really stands out to me, but I want you to answer first, and then I want to ask you about a specific.
Oh, interesting. I don't often... Did I use the word regret in the manuscript?
You didn't use the word regret, but
Okay.
the one that sticks out and I want to know if there's any regret is the Hunger Games audition that you turned down to stay in therapy.
Oh.
'Cause obviously therapy was very important, but also that's a door that could have been opened that you never know where that could have led.
Sure. I mean, at the time, I was really nervous about making the quote-unquote wrong decision. Now, zooming out, now that I'm outside of the industry bubble and I see just how big the world is, just how many industries you can pursue, ways of showing up again in community. Now I'm actually, if anything, I think if anything, I feel most regret over waiting so long to leave the industry.
Oh.
Because I regret not going to college or some kind of, educational pathway, pursuing some kind of educational pathway. I have a feeling that I might have left a mark, in the neurobiological camps, or maybe I would have been a philosophy major, things that now just look really expensive to pursue.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I think if anything, I regret staying, that I was too afraid of believing I could do anything else. So fearful of being just so incompetent with basic life skills. All I knew was performing.
Are there any similarities between the church and the industry?
Ooh, well, absolutely. Drinking the same Kool-Aid, in some regard, specifically around being enamored with status. And let's be clear here. The church, that's such a broad term. So I want to be specific. The evangelical, whitewashed, Americanized, subtly or overtly racist.
Which, by the way, exists in LA, literally looking to prey on
Yes.
actors and creatives who are
Yes.
just really down and out.
Yes. That's where the cultural myths come into play. And that's actually why I started deconstructing my faith and realizing oh, wait a second. in pursuit of truth or a more expansive spiritual awareness, there have been so many ideas that have been overlaid, but then delivered as if this is the absolute truth, when really it's just a reflection of how this era works, how this, nation thinks of itself in the global sphere. Global sphere, that's not an accurate way of putting it. And it's also redundant. But yeah, I do see that humans, no matter who we are vulnerable to being influenced by these deeper ideas. The amount of money that some of the pastors were making, or like inviting me to speak at places, and I was like, wait, you didn't care at all about who I was until you knew that I might be able to help you further your intentions of bringing more people in, and specifically having them tithe to your church as if that's the only expression of spiritual obedience, and not that this is a deeper invitation to living from a different orientation. It's like so much more than this building. But many of the churches that I was a part of, not all churches, but the ones that I was a part of at the time, I was like, oh yeah, this actually screams capitalism more than it does spiritual enlightenment.
And a part of that is like you experience conversion therapy.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me what that's like?
What's wild?
And do you realize what you're in, or when do you realize?
What's wild is that I voluntarily wanted to undergo conversion therapy to try and, at the time, quote unquote, reverse my homosexual desires. And I was so upset with myself because from that vantage point, I was this abject failure. I had some kind of disease, is how how it was conveyed to me and how I understood it.
Who first planted that idea in you?
At the time, in most of the church community circles I was in, it was very normal to see queerness as an abomination, as, it's in direct conflict with God's divine design. Humans should be man, woman, together, marriage, reproduce. Obviously now I'm like, wait a second, there's a lot to unpack in that. And some of these interpretations,
Totally.
There's
also like a bunch of Bible verses that are like pro homosexuality. Like there's like, the Bible is what you want it to be.
If I can quickly just like, if people want to dig into this, McClellan did he wrote a book called The Bible Says So, I believe. It's newer, and he actually examines all of these controversial issues. You don't have to be a believer. You can be anywhere in relation to the topics, but he kind of debunks some of the myths that have permeated society and how folks in the church or outside of the church have come to like assign certain interpretations that he's like, yo, I'm a scholar and that's not what it says. So yeah, let me tell you, I tried so hard to get rid of, everything needs to be put in quotes here, get rid of this part of myself. And it was my only experience, it was my first experience of feeling such intense despair that I was questioning whether or not I should be here anymore. And I was so afraid of having a negative impact on someone else. It started to feel almost like I was Edward Scissorhands, and like anywhere I went, I might hurt someone just by my existence. And so I, contemplated my life. And And that's a core memory that I absolutely, it's permanently in there. I see the visual. I was living in a home with 4 or 5 other Christians, and I was alone, like, you know, I don't even want to leave this room, but maybe I shouldn't be here anymore. Maybe I shouldn't even be in this house. Maybe they don't even feel safe. Of course, not even asking myself, like, do you feel safe? That was not on the table. It was just like, get this thing out of me. And now, of course, woof. A very different viewpoint and understanding, and a lot of, sadness.
How old were you?
I was a late bloomer. So, you know, maybe 19 or 20 or...
So what part of your life did your mom kind of step away and you really end up doing life on your own?
I think I remember around 18 thinking like, oh, normal kids start to either go to school or move out or get their first job. So I kind of wanted to follow that track. So I think it was like 18-ish.
And how'd you end up in the church?
Oh, that was like 12 or 13 years old.
Really? So, but this church in particular, was it a different church, or had you been in the same church for a long time?
I went to a number of different churches because my family wasn't a part of the church. So I had to kind of go with whatever friend had a car, and wherever they went, I went. So I tasted a lot of different flavors of Christianity.
And by the way, the through line to all of them is wanting to suck you in and suck you dry.
Listen,
it is in LA, right?
This is where, you know, we conflate, institution with, you know, the deeper messages of service and, again, like spiritual truth, et cetera. So
capitalism is woven throughout all of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's really unfortunate because I know that there are a lot of believers who might be watching this and going, no, that's not how it is. And usually I'm like, well, I bet you I could ask you 10 questions and by the end you would be like, oh, interesting. And not only that, but like, if we actually were following the teachings of Jesus,
it'd be a much nicer, better place.
Listen,
and none of this would be going down right now.
Right, exactly.
Please. That's like the craziest thing.
Yeah, it's
like,
wild.
Yeah, if we were following the practice of Jesus, we'd love gay people.
Right.
We'd love all people.
Right.
It wouldn't matter, okay?
We would also be, like community organizers and,
The world would be a better place.
Yeah.
You'd actually like not have hungry people.
Exactly.
You wouldn't have dirty people. You'd have clean people. This man literally washed the feet of everybody.
Right.
Didn't matter who you were.
Yeah.
So, like, please, it's
what was ironic is when I was starting to deconstruct, more people in the church, without me saying anything, were like, wow, like we can see evidence of like the fruit of the Spirit in your life. And I was like, this is really interesting because I'm actually in proximity to the church further away than I've ever been. And I'm queerer, I'm coming into my queerness. And yet what you're noticing is an ability to love more people, to have more compassion for more kinds of experiences. You're noticing these attributes that maybe we, read about Jesus embodying. And yet I'm finding these experiences outside the confines of, this particular building. Not to say you can't find some of that in there, but it was fascinating. And then people would learn that I was queer and they'd be like, but maybe it was just a farce, and I'm like, okay, all right.
So who saves you from the church? Who gets you out of it? Or do you get yourself out
Queerness, of it? Because queerness, when I discovered this interest in this woman, I had to start untangling. So it was a long period of deconstruction. But I will say there's like one mentor who, so I went to everyone I could find, right? Like, help me. What's the answer? What's the truth? Lead me to the promised land. And one person was like, these questions that you're asking are beyond me. I need to send you to the wizard behind the curtain. And so I went to the spiritual director who had been, all around the world speaking, evangelizing, da-da-da-da-da. And so I was like, okay, I'm about to get crushed under this man's foot, probably, like really just like put in my place, but I'm ready for it, like whatever you say. And then he started going, actually, if you're asking these questions, a lot of people don't really know how to navigate this level of uncertainty that's necessary to chew on things in a different way. But I'm going to see, what do you think about this material? What do you think about this material? And I realized this person actually has the most expansive view that I have ever heard. Now, he still wore the label of Christian, but it cracked open my mind and heart. And I was like, oh, wait a second. There's so much more to this, you know, to the experience of faith or spirituality than the binary, space that I was in beforehand. I could talk about this forever, but I don't know how many people relate to this topic.
I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there who are constantly in a tug of war with their faith.
Yeah.
And
True.
I think that's constant. And
Yeah.
people don't realize, too, that faith it evolves as you evolve as a human being and your relationship to it evolves. And I also think people don't really understand that like science and religion are way more they have way more in common than they have separating them.
Right.
And it's wild, you know. It's a very interesting topic. But you meet this guy and he's the one who shows you the way?
Via Zoom. Actually, Skype. Zoom didn't exist yet.
Whoa, crazy.
Yeah, we were on Skype calls. And at first I was like, is this weird that I'm speaking to an older man and we have these like Skype sessions? And it was totally cool. And I was so grateful that he gave me the time of day, because I'm sure he was like, what is this random kid actor in LA? You know, he saw me as a human being first and foremost. And so, yeah, but I was privately deconstructing. I didn't really tell anyone what was going on, you know, until eventually people noticed like, oh, you're no longer going to church on Sunday. And that in itself is like its own.
Huge.
Yeah, you're like, oh no, I'm becoming that person. But you're like, wait, I wish people understood what I'm turning toward is actually like, if only. But it's okay. You don't need to be understood by everyone. That's not the point.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's so true. And people really feel like they need to be understood by everyone because that's the way you're accepted and liked. And
Yeah.
that's how we quantify success.
Right.
You mentioned that you wish you kind of stepped away from the industry a bit earlier, but what keeps you coming back for Phineas and Ferb?
Oh, mostly contracts.
Oh, got it. Part of the industry.
Come on, out of all the jobs though,
Just kidding. Yeah. No, Phineas and Ferb is a bright spot.
that's the best job. Has to be the less stressed job you've ever had.
Yeah. It's a definite bright spot. And the folks involved are wonderful. And also, to be clear, like there are lovely folks who work at the Walt Disney Company. And also there have been shifts in their leadership as well. So the people I was working with as a kid are not the people who are in positions of power now. And I'm seeing shifts in the company. You know, they're even bringing on different kinds of support systems here and there for their talent. And so that's really encouraging. But yeah, Phineas and Ferb, it's so far, it's like just a lovely, simple, straightforward gig. And it allows me to have one toe in. And then, you know, everything else is like,
But does it have the potential to be anything but what it is today? Like it's a very controlled environment and like.
Oh, yeah. No, I expect it to be lovely. I think it's not the show itself. The show itself is incredible. It's understanding the larger mechanisms of how media corporations situate themselves in the world, and me having to ask myself a lot of complicated questions around like, okay, how do any of us navigate these systems knowing we're going to be like, it's hard to escape some kind of affiliation with, you know, like big tech companies. Does anyone in here have a smart device? Like, and then we analyze what the companies are doing in terms of extracting, you know, Earth's resources. So it's like, I feel that complexity even when
It's
the
hard.
show itself is like
A microcosm of the larger the larger corporate landscape that funds it.
right, of course. But the show itself is truly just like absolutely delightful.
It's good that you're an empath in that way, though. It's good that you have a good heart.
Well, how do you not? How do you?
I mean,
how do you not?
well, you can easily
acknowledge it.
You can acknowledge it, but there's like a difference between acknowledging and being aware and then being paralyzed by it.
Sure.
And or not choosing to be a part of something because of about a billion things that you and your immediate circle that bring to life this one piece of such a larger entity.
Yeah.
You can't control that. You control what you can control.
I think that's it. That's been where it's felt like it's still in alignment with my values overall amid the complexities. But I am actively saying no to other
Really?
other opportunities
Why?
in the industry. I'm just trying to make decisions that allow me to sleep at night. And that is an unpopular way of going about things in the industry sometimes.
What would fuel the lack of sleep? Stress of doing the job, pressure,
No.
the fact that
No,
you're
I'm built for
aligning
that.
with people that may have not the right intention or motives.
Well, there's so many layers, but I'll just use one of them. One of them is sometimes I see the project and the storyline and I'm like, I'm not sure we need this storyline in the public landscape. I don't know that I want to be the communicator of this message. Whereas before, of course, I was just like, throw me a bone. I need a job. I'm hireable. And now I'm like, wait a second. We need to center other voices. We need to shift how we talk about these topics. Like there's a project that had a lead who's disabled. And the way, the mental model they were using was I don't know if it's called cause-based or what the technical term is, but it's where you view disability as something that not only deserves pity, but also then you like look to people who are disabled as inspiration. And I'm like, that's not a humanizing way of telling a story about disabled people. That's not what the disability community needs. We need different, and by the way, 0 people on the project were disabled. So I was like, no.
That's weird.
No. Whereas before, of course, like jobs are scarce, so you just take what you can get. And so now I'm like, yeah, no, I can't. I would not be able to sleep at night working on that project.
There's a major responsibility to being a vessel for somebody else's story.
I mean, yes. How does it feel for you?
I mean, here's the deal. A little less of a responsibility being I'm not taking on your words, but the reality is like you have to take on somebody else's words. And in that moment, if you take on that job, you have 0 role or right to even refuse to say those words.
Right, of course. Yeah. The company owns your name, likeness, image. The writer determines what you're saying. And most performers are focused on the performance aspect of it. So I think that's where like I wish we could collectively zoom out and start to look at all these things instead of just being in them, only seeing something at face value. You just can't.
By the way, all of this and more exists in this book, semi-well adjusted. You got to listen to it. You got to read it. It's perfect for your Kindle or grab a physical copy or you can listen to the audiobook.
Does anything that you put in the book still keep you up at night? Because I think early on in this interview, you said there's consequences to releasing a book like this.
Yes.
Have you talked to the people that you mention in this book and given them a heads up?
I have given everyone who's named, almost everyone, the people I can be in touch with, a heads up. And I also note in my messages to them that I have no interest in trying to control the narrative. It's more so just rounding out the information that's available, and that every person is fully entitled to share their response to it. So if anyone feels like they had a different experience and they want to speak about it, absolutely. Like if I had the opportunity to do so, then of course they get to do so as well. Many have already, people who are named have already come forward and shared their side. So in those cases, I'm simply adding to, the different eyewitness accounts.
You really have a healthy approach to all of this.
Hey, thank you. It took a lot of training and 20 years of therapy.
I was going to say, like, you definitely approach this like a mental health professional.
Hey, thanks. I'll tell my supervisor.
Do you remember the moment where you were like, I'm going to do mental health. That is going to be my new path.
I've always loved studying the mind-body connection. So
does that come from dance?
No. Dance actually was so performative. It was so outside in.
Really?
Yeah, externally focused. Yeah, no, I didn't get to enjoy dance until I quit the industry. Now,
I'm so sorry.
It's a bummer, right? It just is what it is. But now it's like, oh yeah, this is the gorgeous expression that it always was, and I wished it could have been. But yeah, the mind-body connection, it just helps you understand your own operating system. Like, this is a lot to be human in 2025. Sometimes I talk to people about how our, our nervous systems, if we're using, an evolutionary framework, they evolve at, let's say, this pace. Our systems of government, politics, civilization, etc., is moving at kind of a medieval rate. So we've got ancient mind-body, medieval systems, and then we have futuristic technology moving at such an advanced pace. These discrepancies are so much for a mind and body to process all day long, every day. So I, in my own healing journey, was like, I need to understand what the hell is going on inside my system, so I'm not constantly overwhelmed by the experience of being human. And, oh, wait, you're telling me that I can actually learn some tools to manage this, tools that we all should have been taught just growing up in school, or, if it was available in our family homes. And so now that's so much more interesting to me, to be able to equip other people and say, learn the manual of who you are, how you operate, and the tools that'll help you manage anything that you're trying to tackle. That kind of earned resilience, I think, it's essential for survival, but it's also like a pathway to this kind of liberation, this empowerment, where you're like, oh, I can actually consciously write my life story and not just be reacting to things happening to me.
So your quest for answers and a way to manage your own mental health is what led you to this?
Yes, initially. But you have to be careful not to project your own healing onto everyone else. So I waited until I could be an anchor who could actually listen to the person in front of me and be attuned to what they needed, and not just a spokesperson for what worked for me. Because that's not going to be what helps you heal.
It's very vital.
Some would say it's professionally ethical and mandatory as a part of my job.
Real. What is your relationship with your parents like today?
I can speak to my relationship with my dad. It blossoms. It becomes more and more beautiful by the day. Completely unexpected. I didn't think I was going to get to know him in this lifetime. And
Why?
Our lives were separated physically, and I was told specific stories about him that led me to believe that he wanted nothing to do with me. I later learned that that was not the case, that he was prevented from seeing us. And now being able to fly home and call it home and be in his space and to feel my entire body relax. I mean, every single one of us, there are a lot of kids, stepkids now, a lot of siblings. And when we get there, it's like everyone just falls into the longest slumber, as if our bodies go, yes, this is the respite, we've been craving. And to know that that is associated with my dad. I didn't know I was going to be able to have that in my biological family. And with my mom, the book shares a lot of intimate details about our family dynamic. And more than ever, I feel, even after being this honest, I feel from here on out, I want to honor the privacy necessary to try and sort that out as a family one day at a time. But I can be honest about saying I don't have the answers. I think it would take two people having, openness to be able to wade into all that's happened in the past and what's currently going on. So we'll see if that's available. And if not, we got to keep moving forward somehow anyway.
When's the last time you spoke?
It's been a while.
Do you know what she's up to? Like, I mean, it has to be weird. Like, that's the other part of this, right? Is like, people don't like fully understand. Like, and I have friends that have been in the industry. Like, the relationship with their parents, even though it's unhealthy, it's a bond that is like,
yes,
you're looking for your mom. If you're not looking for a director for notes, you're looking for your mom.
Right.
It's like,
some would say it's enmeshed. Sometimes
that it's so real.
Yeah.
Wow. A part of you, like, even to be alone or away, like, there had to have been this moment of separation. Or did you grieve her?
A massive amount of just, such a smorgasbord of emotions to go through the process of individuation. So actually understanding who I was apart from just being an extension of her, because we were fused together for so long.
And you have to do that twice. Like, one, it's you and your mom, and then you kind of diffusing yourself from what society and movies and culture have kind of pinned you to be.
Sure. It's fun. You want to join? We can go back and relive it one page at a time.
I mean, it's like, wow. So when did you realize who you were as an individual?
I think the way I understand the self at this point is more so understanding the mind and body as an operating system. But I recognize that identity, it's really a reflection of like all the different experiences we've had, the different input, external messages, internal cues, blah, 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 blah. So I see that more as a fluid. It's like a composite, and it will continue to evolve. And so my sense of selfhood, if anything, I feel like is just becoming more flexible and expansive. It feels more whole as well. I'm able to find where all the different parts of myself have a place.
By the way, read the book. It's waiting for you. Semi-well adjusted despite literally everything. You can listen to it as well. Can you just explain, for the sake of just cultural, like, this should be put down in a video that is on record. You could have been Hanna Montana, but not. So there was a version. And by the way, like, networks will do this, right? And they and it tends to be spawning off of like one big hit. They like then come up with 2 or 3 things that could be of similar vein, and they do pilots. And there was almost a story that was the Hanna storyline, but an actor, right?
Correct, yes. And almost are par for the course as
but you shot a pilot.
Entertainer. Yes. And it ended up just being an episode of That's So Raven. But it was supposed to be setting up the spinoff as a backdoor pilot, they call it.
Can you explain what it was supposed to be?
Yes. It followed a character, Allie Parker, I believe is her name, named after me. And just like, I think Miley played Miley. Is that right? Just different last name. They like to do that. Because didn't Raven also do that as well? And there was even a blonde wig.
You know who didn't do that? Phil the Future. Ricky Ullman really lost out.
Or Raviv.
But then he would go by Ricky.
That's right. That's right. So the show focused on, a person who lived one life in the daytime, another life at night. She was a famous actor, but was able to still go to regular school, leading that double life. So,
Hanna.
Very similar concept. But I will say, in terms of a business move, it's a no-brainer. Hanna, as a musician, meant tours, meant, albums. That IP, like...
Crazy.
Yeah. And also, like, Miley's super talented, so I will never know all of the almost for all of the actors who almost did a bajillion roles. Like, I look at the long list of people who went out for, is it Glinda? Glinda? Yeah. And I'm like, these would have been completely different films.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
And Ariana obviously is incredible. And to see the variety of talent is like, wow, that's, I mean, kind of the beauty of creative expression. The canvas is blank. You can paint a lot of different things on it.
It's real. By the way, without a shadow of a doubt, she was born to take over that, what is it called?
Wand?
The wand? Yeah. But it's like is it a wand? It's like a staff.
I'm the tomboy. I wouldn't be the one to ask.
Oh,
Sorry.
Jesus. See, I threw the society typecast people. You know, it's fucked up. Like, it is a fucked up thing. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, I'm okay with that. I mean, I literally fit whatever the stereotype is to a T.
But then it does suck because then that ultimately becomes the only roles you go out for, and that's what people want to see you for. Yeah. And then you had a very interesting thing in the book. Again, you got to read this book. It's fucking awesome. You loved it, right?
I started reading it and I couldn't put it down.
Whoa.
It's the fastest I've ever read a book. Actually, it's probably the only book I've read in the past 10 years.
Yeah,
But I flew through the entire thing.
I didn't know you read other books.
Wow.
I didn't. And then I picked that one up and I just started reading, and then the next thing you know, it was over.
Wow.
You learn so much.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. Sorry, you're asking the questions. Can I ask one more question?
Yes, ask all of them.
What was one thing that stood out to you the most, or what like lingered with you?
You just don't really know the backstories. Like you were saying, I just viewed you as this happy person who was making all this money, superstar, and then you start to learn the truth. You're like, oh, miserable, didn't get the role he wanted, got a nose job to try to fit in. You're just like, you just don't know the truth behind these facades that people are putting up.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And like, one of the things I was wondering is like, is that nose job you get? Is it the confidence you get from having that nose job that lands you the roles, or is it the fact that aesthetically you hit different on camera?
Yeah,
honestly,
I think. Well, of course, I can't psychoanalyze everyone else who is in the rooms making decisions, but who were in the rooms making decisions. But I brought in a writing supervisor for this project, and without Anna, I do not know what form the book would actually be in. But when I was drafting this chapter, she left a comment with a link to a book. I believe it's called Energetics. You'll have to fact check me, but it essentially talks about how some of these shifts that we make in our appearance also, lead to us showing up with a different sense of presence.
Totally.
And so it's probably a both and. And in allowing myself to stop criticizing how I looked while auditioning in the room, yeah, I likely had more freedom to engage with the moment more fully. But at the same time, let's be real. Like, I was growing up, it was like 200 plus projects. And right when I stopped fitting the physical mode, the physical mold of the, they call them the girl next door, but these girls next door are often so gorgeous. I'm like, this is supposed to represent average? Okay. The second that I adjusted my appearance, and specifically my headshots, right? Because you have to have the headshot to even get the audition. Mm-hmm. The new headshot got me into so many more rooms. And from there, I booked 5 lead roles over the span of a year after going out for thousands of lead roles. So probably both and. But in a weird way, after booking the roles, I kind of got the satisfaction, and it was enough for me to okay, I checked the box. I proved this theory in all its complicated messiness.
Now you're out.
And now I'm like, actually, exactly.
Gotta go.
Deuces. If y'all are really doing it this way, I don't want to be part of it.
I have the most respect for you. You have such integrity and such a moral compass, and you're so intelligent. You are so intelligent. You're a very good person.
Thank you. Or is it the facade?
Ooh.
I think you're, I don't know. I don't think you're playing us. I think you genuinely are a collection of some of the craziest experiences and a wild couple decades.
Yeah.
And you've channeled all that and you've turned it into something so spectacular that you're helping people in ways that like very vital, very vital to the continuation of like really what you grew up doing and what I grew up enjoying and watching and finding escape in.
Yeah.
So it's vitally
Thank you.
important. You're
Yeah,
really
thanks.
very special.
What should I do with my life now?
Well, I think
Retire?
Hello? Are you paying my rent?
I think you're on the, but are you not on the right track? I think honestly, like doing mental health supervision on sets and on scripts and on different projects, doing Phineas and Ferb. I mean, like
Maybe that'll go for 25 seasons.
you have balance there.
Yeah.
It really could go forever, and you know that shit would.
I mean, the show is that good.
Yes, it is.
It's so good.
They do such a great job. Vincent's incredible. Ashley Tisdale, amazing.
Yeah.
Dusel,
Doofenshmirtz.
I see him on TikTok every day.
Dan.
Incredible guy. And those shows really do. They stand the test of time. They can go 36 seasons. Come on, look at SpongeBob.
Listen from your lips
To Mickey's ears,
to
man.
Mickey's ears.
My last question, I know you have to go, is like we just talked about everything you've accomplished and what you're doing now. So when people still see you as a little white girl from the Missy Elliot video, does that make you proud? Or is it you kind of like, I've done more?
Oh, well, the analogy that I use sometimes is like, do y'all remember in second grade when you did show and tell that one time?
Yeah.
What if I only asked you about that every day for the rest of your life?
Kind of what I figured.
So well put.
Yeah.
Because that was my version of second or third grade show and tell. So of course, I know that I've lived a whole life since then, but I also recognize it's a way for us to connect. It's just our initial connection point. And that moment in music history is, I mean, Missy deserves all the credit in the world for what she designed conceptually, for bringing in whoever decided to put a little white girl in the center. Like, obviously that was not my decision.
It signified this larger gap that was being bridged together that was very much depicted in music at the time. I mean, really, it was the turning of this genre of music being accepted by absolutely every type of person under the sun. 100%.
Because that, I guess, coincides with Marshall being in the scene.
Yeah,
and
it sparks everything.
so, just happy to be a part of it. But certainly I am not I'm not in my room doing the dance every day.
Well, you killed it at the VMAs a couple years ago.
Thank
that
you.
was amazing.
Thank
I remember
you.
you came on stage and I was like, whoa. Just,
They didn't tell me what to do. They called me
freestyled
last
that?
minute. Or if you read the book,
Yeah, I
then you
did.
know. But I was like, aren't you worried? Like, what if I don't know how to dance anymore? And hi-hat was like, nah.
go for it.
Yeah, the creative director. She was like, you've always been a perfectionist, so I know you're going to figure it out. I was like, no, not relying on my 9-year-old self. I'm trying to be different now.
Who introduced you to that style of dance? Or did
That
you see
audition.
it on TV? Really?
No, I was not trained in hip hop.
Yeah, you
oh
said that was
my
your
gosh.
worst dance. Like, that was like the one you were trained in the least was hip hop.
Yes. And I was
like in
so
Ohio,
nervous.
what's going on?
Because you came up from, the studio world, the competitive world is
Totally.
like certain kind of technical training, ballet, tap, jazz. And then I went on this audition thinking like, I don't know who Missy is. Beep, beep, beep. And then suddenly.
Did they do the dance move first and you did it after them?
Well, it's a style of movement that some in the industry would call commercial choreography. So, hip hop culture obviously is rich with social party dances and other kinds of movement related expression. And when you turn it into choreography, then dancers who are trained in just learning how to pick up moves sequentially can usually learn the steps, but that's where one of my dance mentors, hip-hop mentors, would say they know the steps, but they don't know the moves. And it took a lot more training and, being integrated into the hip-hop community for me to be like, oh, okay, yeah, this isn't just learning a routine.
This is emotion. This is a feeling.
This is a cultural
lifestyle.
movement. Yeah, it's socio-political movement.
Totally.
This is like a community's voice. It's like, yeah, so much more, obviously.
Semi-well adjusted despite literally everything is waiting for you. You can listen to the audiobook if your eyes are not looking to move. and your ears want to do all the work, there's a link to the Audible link, or you can buy it on Amazon as well, or put it on your Kindle. You good?
Would love to ask more, but gotta go.
I know. You're incredible. Really very
Likewise.
special person.
Yeah, thanks for letting me come hang out. I admire what you've built over the years.
Thanks. That
Can I
means a
ask
lot.
one last question?
Yeah, you're the one who's on the schedule. I can sit here till tomorrow.
Oh yeah, that's right. I have.
Yeah,
That's
ask.
right. My last question is, where did you originally see the vision for this show? Like, what was the original intention of this show, and now how has that changed?
My original intention of this show was literally to make friends. I literally existed every day, and I had nobody to talk to. And I turned to the internet to figure out how to build a radio show. Okay, so my understanding of radio was a group of friends every morning starting their day together. And that was like what I believe friendship to be. Like that was the highest version of it. And I had no friends. I went from a Catholic school of like 60 to 80 kids to like a public school of 2,700.
Oh my
and I
gosh.
knew nobody. Literally would like ride with my neighbor. They would talk to me in the car and then drop me off and then never talk to me again. And then I just started like having my parents drop me off so I can listen to the radio and hear friendship and then be exposed to reality. And I was like, fuck, I have nobody to talk to about anything I experience in this world. I have nothing, like I have just nobody to vent to. So then I was like, I don't want to do YouTube because I had toyed with it, but I loved radio. So I figured out how to create an online radio show from my bedroom. And then really like
Wow.
the purpose was to just talk to people about what we went through in a day. And then it became me talking to randoms like Disney Channel stars. I used to like Debbie Ryan was the first person to ever come on the show. It was Debbie Ryan and a local weatherman. But I got to say, like, you know, Jessie wasn't around then. She was just about to be on Sweet Life on Deck. Like,
Oh my gosh.
Like, it was a very different
That's when I met her,
time.
yeah.
Like different era for so many.
Yeah.
And but yeah, by the way, you and Debbie are still friends, right?
I just actually spoke to her. I mean,
For the book?
she now, lives in Ohio, so our professional and personal paths are.
But she's from Texas originally, but her husband's
yeah.
Ohio.
Yes.
That's right.
I know. Ohio.
What is it? What did it say?
OH.
Ohio.
There we go. Nailed it.
I'm not supposed to do that because half of my family is Michigan Wolverine
Oh.
fan. So, but it's okay.
You're safe.
Yeah.
But you had to talk to her about the book?
Yes. And just say like, hey, here's what to expect. Here's what's in the pages. And we both agreed that it was so lovely to hear each other's voices. Yeah, that friendship was really, really meaningful at such a specific time. So
You know, I read if a friendship lasts 7 years, chances are it's going to last your entire life.
nice.
Yeah.
We might have to go to a diner and catch up then.
That.
Yeah.
Your last question is where it ended
what's
up?
the vision now, or what do you hope for? Is there a particular vision? You're just rolling with it.
I think the core thesis of what I do should stay the same, but like sometimes you lose track of that, right? And I think the biggest thing that I've been trying to get back is this naivete and this blind confidence that you have as a kid, right? Specifically as a kid, you don't understand cause and effect, right? So you'll email somebody 1,000 times until you get an answer, or I'll cold call somebody 1,000 times until I get an answer. Like I didn't understand what that was, but so much of my reason for being here today was because I chose to not take no for an answer and like power through with blinders on. That's something I wish I could get back. But I do think that like the through line of what we do should remain the same. It's like we have a responsibility to be a vessel for people to understand and get to know the human that exists within this artist or creative that they've really admire. And we want to bring people closer to that person. So and show the truest side of themselves while also breeding friendship and camaraderie and companionship. And
Yeah, you have millions of friends now.
no. They come and go.
Sure.
Come and go. You're an amazing human being, by the way. Like really, please read their book. Read their book. Semi-well adjusted, despite literally everything.
Everything.
You're amazing.
Thanks, y'all. Thank you.
This human being, Alyson Stoner, everybody.